Okay.
Do I have one up there? It's yellow. It says visitor sheet.
I'll call the March 28th Strafford School Board meeting to order. First of all, I'd like to welcome our new board members and our returning board member. Welcome. Returning. You're still here. Returning. First order of business is the election of the chair. Do I have any nominations for chair?
I would nominate Bruce Patrick. Second.
Bruce Patrick in a second. Are there any other nominations for chair? Hearing none. All in favor of Bruce being the chair? 3, opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain?
Yes.
No, I'm for it.
Yes.
Bruce, are you all set with that?
I'm all set for that.
All right, congratulations, Bruce, it's all yours.
Condolences. Okay, so I take over now?
Yep.
All right, so the second order of business is to elect a vice chair. Do we have a nomination for vice chair?
I nominate Debbie Heinrichsen.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any other nominations? No? Debbie, you want to nominate anybody else? All those in favor of Debbie, say aye.
Aye.
Now, at this time, I know that we have other committees and other appointments to make at this point, but we actually want to recess this meeting at this time.
Yep.
So that our attorney, Gordon Graham, can go over the fact-finding report and what the next procedure would be for implementing that.
Okay.
Is that correct, Gordon? Is that
Sure.
the right time?
That's fine.
We're paying Gordon by the hour?
So the faster you can get out of here, the better.
School board meeting at 7:47. So we had discussion on the fact-finding report.
So I would like to make a motion to move, in view of the voter support of the fact finders report at the Strafford Annual School District meeting, that this board resolve the impasse with the Strafford Educational Association and NEA New Hampshire and accept the recommendations of the fact finder report and implement those recommendations and instruct the school administration to incorporate the fact finder's recommendations into a revised agreement that can be executed by the board and the association.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Hearing no discussion, put to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
No opposed. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that we request that we include the tentative agreements which were approved prior to the fact finding in the final agreement.
Is there a second on that?
Second.
Any discussion at this point? All in favor? Aye. 0 opposed. Thank you. Okay. So, congratulations, everyone. Board 2.
Can I have those motions?
Yes.
So, moving on, we received notification, it's our board packet on page 33, that Brian Monahan has resigned his position. And that leaves us with a vacancy on the board at this time. So it is suggested that we accept a vacant position, and that at that point we accept interest from the public, of anybody that wants to apply for the school board position up to April 10th, 4 p.m. April 10th, which is the day before the next board meeting at the SAU.
So moved.
So moved. Thank you. Is there a second on the move? Motion. Thank you. All those in favor? Discussion. So anybody from the public that wants to apply for the school board position has to give a written notification to the superintendent of their intent, and then at the April 11th school board meeting, we will decide on that position. Okay. Thank you.
Is there any other need for our attorney for the evening?
Thank you, Gordon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Gordon, thank you.
Okay, take care.
Thanks for coming out tonight.
Yeah.
It's like, ching, ching,
Yeah. Okay, now at this time, we'll go back into our committee assignments for the school board, county school board. And with knowing that there will be a new member, not all these positions may be filled tonight. Some of them will be vacant to discuss at the next meeting after a new person is put on. So the first committee assignment would be the CBNA Education Committee.
I'd like to continue my work with that committee.
We need a motion on that, or just accept
I
this?
believe they're appointed by the board, so,
Appointed by the board.
I mean, by the chair, excuse me.
Yep. Anybody else interested in that? Don't want to oppose it? Okay. Deb, you got it. Thank you for doing that, and thank you for keeping us informed of what's happening with the committee every time that you have done it. Thank you. The second committee is the NHSBA delegate. I've done that for quite a while, and I'd like to continue that one. That's that horrible meeting. I'm sorry, that's a wonderful meeting in January. It's always on January with the snowy day in Concord at the School Board Association. I know that Erica would like to possibly do it too.
sure.
Maybe we can do both. Both of us could do it possibly. I know there's a delegate and an alternate, so we can do that. Okay. All right, we have a couple of committees here that we could combine because they meet at the same, almost at the same time, one after another at the SAU or here before the meetings. That's the Transportation Committee and the Policy Representative. So we could combine that too.
I'd be interested in that.
Okay, so we can combine that to a Communications Committee, which would be for,
So communication is going to be different.
oh, communications would be different, okay.
Right. So Misty is interested in the transportation and policy
I see, the
committee.
next one we do communications.
Right.
So, Misty, you had taken over the transportation and the policy, and what that entails is that transportation request, bus routes, anybody wanting to have a new location, it comes to you first, you review it with transportation people, and then give us a suggestion. And the policy is just as it says, go with the superintendent. So, yeah, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead a little bit. The Strafford Community News Calendar.
We're going to rename that.
Thank you. Go ahead.
And so we're going to rename that the Communication Committee. And we'd like to have two people on that committee. Erica has volunteered to write the article for the Strafford News Calendar, and I will, since we have social media, the Facebook page, the Strafford Facebook page, we're going to Strafford School Board Facebook page, we'd like to continue. And I'm sorry, but we've agreed that we really would like to not have comments on that page. And keep it not to opinion, but just put factual information on. So we're gonna shut the comments off, okay?
However, anybody in the public, if they have a comment they would like to make on any piece, could always email any of the school board members with communication on that.
And we still do have, we also have a Strafford School Board email address. So you can send us emails and we'll read them at the meetings and we can include them in the minutes, and so we will, okay.
Yeah, that's great. And Erica, that's yours?
And Debbie.
And Debbie. Superintendent's evaluation.
Isn't that the chair?
Yeah, the chairs from all three boards usually do that
Right.
if somebody is really interested in doing it.
I'll be your alternate in
Okay.
case you can't make a meeting.
No problem. Okay. Stratford School Building Committee.
I'd like to leave that open. I was on that committee last year, and see if we have a new member that can take that one, take over that one.
Great.
I prefer not to be on that anymore.
Thank you. Wellness Committee.
If need be, I can take that, but if we have a new member that would like that, I wouldn't mind letting a new member have that, unless you guys want it.
I'm good.
I'll pay it.
All right, there you go, this is gonna be good.
Okay, negotiating committee, we're gonna wait till there's 5 members on the board before we pick up negotiating committee. Athletic committee,
I'll continue that one.
and the reason for negotiation too is just end of the fact. Just-
Right.
So before we get into one in September, we have a little time on that one. Okay, so now we have a policy for the code of ethics for school board members. It was adopted originally in 2004 and then amended in 2013, that all school board members are, must sign to continue with that policy. There is one vacant position, so when we sign this tonight, we'll give it to Dr. Yomsi for the open spot.
Yep. I'll fill it in as soon as we have it on the board.
Okay. Any other committees that the board wishes to engage in at this point? We'll move on. Thank you. So we have our action items. We have Marjorie here for the financials. We signed the manifest. They're all done. We're gonna try to come early to get those done each time so that they won't be being done during the board.
Oh, good.
If
We need
anybody
to do
else wants
minutes
to do that,
first.
they can do that.
Bruce,
Yeah.
do we need to do minutes first?
Yeah, we'll get, that's B here on the action items. So approval of the school board minutes from 3/14/18.
So moved.
So do we have a second?
Second.
Should you second them if you want? You were here in the public. Just check it out. Yeah, you were in the public at that point, you were here at the meeting. So, we have a motion and a second. Is there discussion on the minutes, non-public, public and non-public of 3/14/18?
I did two.
Two?
I had, well,
Yeah, go ahead.
I think line 62.
Which line is that?
62.
62?
Oh,
I
yes.
think it should say not
Yes.
instead of no,
Yeah.
about halfway through the line. And
Yep.
line 155, page 10. I think it's maybe filled with sand for the oil thing. I don't think it was a definitive thing. It was,
Maybe.
it
That's
might
correct.
be or maybe filled with sand, the
Yes.
oil tank.
Okay, any further discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, go to a vote. All those in favor of approval of school board minutes from 3/14/18, say aye. Anybody abstain at this time? Discussion of the fact-finding report, we moved that up, and that's all done. Thank you, everyone. Okay, business administrators report at this point. I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. I thought that's what we were talking about when I saw the
Nope, that's okay.
financial business.
I figured you were just talking about the manifests that are before you.
I usually keep into it by the time that comes around. Go ahead.
Before Marjorie starts, can I just remind the
Yeah.
board members that the manifest is right down at the end. If you haven't seen it before, you'll have your payroll, your accounts payable. So we do need signatures on those, so
They
as
signed
they
them.
come down through.
We're
Okay,
done.
I just wanted to make sure that you knew what it was.
Thank you. We typically try not to do them outside of meetings, but sometimes there will be like a last minute thing, and I'll send out an email to see if I need 3 out of 5 signatures for certain things, so, just because you guys are new. And typically at the end of the year, it gets a little crazy because, we have to pay people according to the CPA. So sometimes in like June, the teachers, I believe, are supposed to, each CBA is different, but for the most part, I think they all state something like the teachers on their last day of school get their last paycheck, which includes like all their summer checks. But then, so like say if that's a Tuesday, so that has to be done like the Friday before to submit direct deposit. And then that following Friday, we'll probably have administration and hourly employees that need to get paid as well. So we try to make sure that's all taken care of, but you guys should be okay. I try to keep you aware of it as we get through it. Before I begin my report, I do have the MS-22 that I would speak to everybody about on Monday night. So if anybody has any questions or not, if you could sign it, that would be great. The health trust rates did come in, we got our final rates on those, and they held at the 2.4 decrease, so no changes in that. And then, so my memo is on page 15, and on page 16 begins the revenue. And so what I started to do with the school district, because I think, just to be more clear, you know how at the end of the year, I always do the expenditures and I come up with anticipated amounts to try to give you the worst case scenario. I did the same thing with the revenue. I'm trying to give you an estimate of, you know, if we're going to be receiving full revenue, what I'm expecting to receive by the end of the year. So with that being said, your unanticipated revenue, I have put in there the $18,000 from the preschool surplus. So you'll be receiving, you already have 135 in there, so you'll be receiving an extra $19,000 of unanticipated revenue. I've already given those to accounts payable, so Debbie as the FAU treasurer, you'll be signing off on those checks next week to be distributed to the school districts. Any questions on the revenue report?
You did say at our joint board meeting that unanticipated revenue from the preschool must be turned back to the community, correct?
I did not say that.
Ooh, I thought that was, didn't we hear that discussion?
Joint board mentioned that any revenues marked unanticipated, it's turned back to the town at the end of the year, anticipated. Could be used for different documents, but I don't remember ever having gone by that.
Each school board has their different view. I don't believe you'll actually find an RSA or any law that says what has to go back. Bottom line is, as long as you don't overexpend your budget, in my eyes, you're okay. My personal preference is, I think if it's an unanticipated revenue, then yes, that should go back to the town. Because it was money that we did not budget for. It was never presented to the town in any form or fashion. So there's certain things in my eyes that I believe should go back to the town, that's one of them. The other ones are tuition, if there's money left over from tuition, because students moved out of district or whatever. And the other one is health insurance. So like if the health insurance rate came in significantly lower, then, but again, each school board is different of how they pertain it, but.
And ultimately, if you don't overexpend your budget, then any unanticipated revenue's going back anyway.
We can still encumber some money for repairs or
Yep, we always do.
upgrades.
Boilers.
Yeah, boilers.
Yep.
That's what-
I've already spoken to Scott about it, so he should be in the process of preparing a list of what might need to be done by the end of the year. At this point, you do have $150,000 left in unexpended funds, so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else on financials at this time?
Well, I have nothing on revenues. On your expenses, I just wanted to kind of note a few things, if you're okay with it.
Yeah.
So in your collective bargaining agreement, you actually have in there that if more than 22 people take the health insurance buyout, their health insurance buyout goes from $1,000 to $2,000. So a lot of your health insurance buyout lines are over, because you did have a lot of new staff that came on over the years. So if you're looking at those lines and wondering why they're over, that is why. But you'll see savings in your health insurance lines themselves.
So did we go over the 22 people?
Yes. If you didn't go over it, you're at least at the 22. Whatever it is to your CBA, that's where you are at. So, last month we're not encumbered because we were just kind of trying to gauge to see if there were gonna be any more changes. But right now they're holding steady, so. Okay. And I think that was the biggest thing, I just highlighted all of those on mine, between your different sections. And then I'm hoping by next month, I know, in the past, I've spoken with you about separating out the, high school versus elementary costs. So I'll prepare a separate report for you to review as well and see which report you would actually like. Would you like it presented this way, or would you like it, the other way?
I have a question from the
Sure.
administrator.
Page 22?
No, on MS 22 that you.
Yep.
What, the $68,000 for the additional equipment, what was
$68,000 for the additional equipment.
that? Would that be things for the technology?
Is it in the 2,200 lines? Does it say that?
Object, it just says object 730.
So that is everything within your budget, that is 5,730. So, looking at your,
That's everything rolled together.
Okay.
right, that last page is just supplemental data for,
Okay.
it's actually going to the DOE.
Okay.
And they made it a part of the DRA report. And we kind of do the same thing when I do the DOE report at the end of the year. It's kind of like the same page, but they want to know what we actually spent. So if I'm looking at your general fund right now, you have new furniture in there for $2,800. You have science equipment for $2,000.
Probably the computers. Okay.
Yep, and then it goes into special ed and
Okay. Thank you.
custodial services. And then I didn't know if while I was here, if we could, if there are no questions on the financials about the auditors,
Yes.
because we made that decision on Monday at the joint board, so I didn't know if while I was here, because I was just trying to keep the auditing firms apprised of where we are, so I emailed them all on Tuesday morning and let them know that the joint board, and I'm just assuming at this point all the districts are gonna go with that one, but it is also up to the joint board to, the individual boards to change their minds. So I'm just trying to keep them aware of what's going on, so I didn't know if you guys could do that while I was.
Ultimately, the joint board makes a decision for the joint board, and each individual board has to make a decision for themselves. Our hope is that all boards will do the exact same thing, so we can utilize one audit firm. And if that's acceptable, if we could just have a motion for that, would be
Okay.
great.
And if you choose to do different ones, I'm gonna schedule them my hardest on the same week.
I'll make a motion to accept Lotznick and what was the name?
Sanderson.
Plodzik and Sanderson.
And Sanderson as our new auditors for the next 3 years.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Thank you.
Thank you
Anyone
very
opposed?
much.
Just signing off on the penalties of perjury.
So the health insurance numbers reflect the numbers that you gave us when you started your report in the financials?
What do you mean the health insurance numbers reflect?
Did you say,
The health trust figures that I said that
Right.
came in, that's for next year.
oh, for next year, okay.
Yep. So we received our do not exceed rates at -2.4.
Right.
They came in and they said, we're staying at the -2.4. Yeah. So typically, there's like a little swing. So when we get into the budget, I'll try to see how much money is left there in those lines for the board, but they're gonna
What's the
stay where they
difference?
are.
How much does it save between what we budgeted?
It doesn't.
Oh,
It came in the same.
It was
came in the
exactly
same.
the same, it was.
Right.
Oh,
That's what they've been telling us from the beginning. We've asked the question for the last 2 or 3 months, and they've been telling us it's gonna be very close to that.
oh, this is the first year in a long time that it didn't come.
I think I looked at it, I think like maybe 3 years ago, it came in at the same as well.
Oh, I thought we were gonna have some savings in this.
How much
I've been-
does that fluctuate typically?
It depends on the year. It also depends on the plans that each individual school district has. So we have the 3 school districts, and we have the SAU and the preschool, and each one of them has different plans. Some are higher plans. We've, because of the Affordable Health Care Act, we've been trying to get rid of those because some of them were Cadillac plans. So at that point, the employee and the employer were gonna have to pay significant taxes on those, and penalties. So, during negotiations, we've been trying to, minimize those. It depends on the plan, it depends on what happens during negotiations and what plans they decide on. For the most part, some of them actually put those plans in the CBA. It depends on how much you use those plans, so if all of a sudden you have somebody that's really ill and they're using those, I mean, those, it all affects all of your claims and everything. So, the one good thing is that we're, so that helps.
They give us a number in October just for budgeting, and it's supposed to be the worst case scenario. And usually, it's higher than it actually is. So we usually have some savings, and now what they have just found out is
You're spot on.
it's spot on, so there's no savings. Usually we have like $20,000 extra.
And it's hard to gauge because you also have so many, people that change their health plans during the year. Divorces, marriages, starting a family, or remarrying. You know, some people nowadays, they have 4 kids from their first marriage and 4 kids from their, for their new marriage. So now you have a family plan of 10 people. But a family plan of 3 people and a family plan of 10 people are gonna cost you the same. So.
Thank you.
Anything else, Marjorie?
No, I don't.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We need Marjorie for anything else?
We do not at this point. Enjoy your night, everything's signed right here.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Rooney? You're
So
up.
typically for your reorganization meeting, I don't give you a written report,
This is the second
out of
meeting.
respect for time.
Thank you.
Um,
You don't have
Needed
it.
it?
You don't
Well, I
have
do have a
it.
couple, I have a couple.
You don't have to force yourself to give us.
Yeah, I can give you some things. I know we had a discussion in another meeting on Monday night about some school safety issues. I'll let you know that discussion is in place now. All the parties have talked, and we'll be moving forward. An email went out to Doug, this afternoon.
Can I follow up on that?
Sure.
Do you have the information about the infrastructure grant yet, as far as
Yep,
security?
that was my number 2.
Okay, good. Will that be a non-public? Do you have
We just need to
specifics?
know if our grant was accepted. Is there any word on that yet?
It was accepted pending further funding and recommendations. So
we
I
didn't
had a
make the first one.
conversation with the DOE. Last week. And what she told me was there was $700,000 in front of our request. But that sounded like a really lot of money, but it isn't, because there were large projects in front of us that required warrant votes, and some of those warrants failed. So her non-scientific forecast was to stay tuned. There were also, and we're not sure, Scott and I wrote the grant and put the numbers in and all the activities and everything else in our $64,000 grant showed up on the spreadsheet as a $645,000 grant, and you got approved for $100,000. But I did send her an email. She required me to send an email saying somewhere a decimal point. I asked her if it was us. She said it's really hard to tell. I checked with Scott. He's like, no, we checked that 3 times before you submitted it. So they're in the process of moving the decimal point back, and they'll reduce
Probably
the
give us
100,000.
10,000.
Yeah, right.
$100,000.
But as far as the approval, that doesn't affect the approval, because there was money in front of us that's sort of holding us up. So if you go to the website, you'll see a $645,000 grant with a $100,000 cap that you were awarded pending recommendations and further funding. And I expect that we'll hear within the next month as we sort of ratchet up the funding list.
Right.
So you'll keep us in tune on that?
I will keep you informed.
And I think that, I know that you were talking about making a plan for maybe some of the surplus that we have this year, but I think we really need to wait to see if this grant covers
Well, I figured it out with a
things.
calculator, 640, so 64,500. If you qualify for that grant, which you should, would be 52,000, so you would have to find the balance in your budget. I expect we're gonna know this within the next month. But you were recommended with pending funding and
Good.
further recommendation.
I just want to explain to Erica and Misty, there was an infrastructure grant for upgrades for different, your cable, was it the, not the,
There was the
your fiber.
part of it was connectivity with fiber coming into your building. A
Right.
large portion of it was earmarked for safety.
Right.
And there were other, what they quoted as emergency items. But the vast majority of the emergency items did not get funded. And the vast majority of the safety, security items got funded at 80%.
So we looked at some things, and we don't want to talk about it in public, because we don't want people to know anything we're looking at. But we looked at some things that may help to make things more secure, and we put that in for the grants. So we're waiting to see if it will be funded, and they'll fund, if we're approved, that they'll fund 80% of it. So we have to pay the 20%. If they don't fund it, I think it's still something that we need to look at out of the surplus.
I agree.
Okay, Dr. Young? Thank you, Steve.
My report starts on page 30. Just want to welcome our newly seated board members. I have a pretty brief report, but the next item was actually approved at the last previous board meeting, which was to dispose of really outdated, outmoded tech equipment. But just as a quick update, we are starting that process as we talked about, so we'll be providing notice to community members initially at first who might potentially want access to any of these items. And then we will also poll some schools, local schools, organizations to see again if they would like anything, and then whatever's left we'll dispose of. So I'm very thankful of that for a number of reasons, but particularly because we need storage space. We don't have much of it, and we're really currently carrying quite a bit of outdated tech equipment. So Mr. Bono is on it, and we started that process. A couple update items. One of the most important things that you can do is prevention. As intervention is always necessary, obviously, is an important part of what we do. But prevention efforts not only save money, but they have greater impact right from the get-go. And so the character education program, which I've talked a little bit about, that we started this year, is part of a PLC team that we started in the summer. It's sort of a carryover from that with Mrs. Pagnotta particularly leading the way to put this together. And so I just wanted to, you should do one of two things: either come in for our April recognition event where our K4 with our K4 students in the cafeteria, or maybe we can get a video of a portion of it so you can sort of experience a little bit of what that's like. But what it looks like is classmates and staff and teachers and really all of us cheering on kids who are recognized for the character of the month. And so our goal is that every student has an opportunity for recognition during the year, and I think we're on track for that. And it's been a wonderful way for us to create a focus on important social emotional learning skills, and also create moments of celebration, which and it's neat when kids are excited for one another, for empathy, for resiliency, for kindness, for respect, responsibility, and the other things we've had throughout the year. So the benefit in that is that we've also developed materials which Ms. Hedstrom has helped to develop at times, Mrs. Pagnotta as well, Ms. Roy, one of our fourth grade teachers, that complement each theme. So we'll give sort of a packet, usually through Google Docs or through our shared Google stuff, that teachers can embed in their own classes and sort of highlight as they go through, either through their responsive classroom time in the morning or time when they choose. And the benefit that I see in that is kiddos in a building that increasingly has an emotional climate that's really conducive to learning and really more conducive to simply getting along well, which is actually pretty cool and pretty meaningful. So I want to highlight those folks in this work that we're doing. I think we also have sort of a companion program for our 5th through 8th graders where we don't really do the assembly because that's not typically as valuable for them, but we do create incentives at the end of each month that kiddos earn for showing these various character traits as well, and that's been a good impact for them as well. So
What does that look like for 5th through 8th?
there's usually different things. Most of the time what kids want to do is they want to have more time outside.
Sure.
During this winter, that's been a little bit difficult, but yeah, the social incentive usually is a real pull for them. So, so like I said, the prevention part of it is neat, and just the opportunity to highlight and celebrate kids' success has been really good for us.
Scott, you mentioned that you'd like board members to come to this little ceremony monthly,
I
or?
mean, if you would, I'll send out to the board
Okay.
just our dates for April and May and June. If you'd like to pop in and see our K-4 celebration, you could check that out and be a part of it, or sort of get a glimpse, but it's pretty neat. Arts Month is well underway. We've had a number of guests, they're mentioned here in my report, developing some amazing art that much of which the students are sort of, it's a gradual release. They demonstrate, and then students learn, and then they start creating with, in collaboration with Ms. Jordan and with their classmates, similar art to what they're being shown. And so we'll also try to bring some examples and pictures and so on of the art that's going to be here in the building from this Arts Month. But this one has been probably our best in terms of student engagement and involvement and the kinds of things that kids can do. One of the things I want to mention, just in my report, we talked a little bit about for Mark Holt-Shannon, who came in and did a couple assemblies for us, that kiddos will also be taking pictures. We fully vetted how that's going to work in terms of sign-offs and permissions and everything else. So that will be all in place. But it will be neat to have some of that displayed here as well in the building. And then one of our own, Mrs. Sarah Curran, was here doing some amazing stuff with wildlife. Ms. Pagari and I both got to see one of the lessons that she did with, let's see, hawk, king, a peregrine falcon, thank you, an owl, and a snake. The snake, I think, freaked most of the adults out, but the kids loved it. And if you, I don't know if you, Sarah is a natural teacher, so they actually just sent us a survey on our experience with it, which included how well she touched on standards. And honestly, she was excellent. I mean, the way that she was able to engage kids, and these were our younger kiddos that I saw that when she did a presentation, was really excellent. And so now the kids are going to be doing some writing or some art around the different animals they get to see with her coming in. So a good time was had by all. We did have some, we had some falcon poop that we had to clean up. So that was fun. Kids got a kick out of that.
We cleaned it, or you cleaned it?
I didn't clean it.
No.
Yeah.
It was covered on the floor. Sheet on the
Yes,
floor.
yes.
It's a collective league.
More or less. I cheered on the person cleaning, I'm pretty sure. I gave a shout out. Actually, that was Sarah Curran, so I should, in my celebration points, I neglected to mention her, but I really should, because that's above and beyond. But our 8th grade graduation date, which I think is also in the agenda, but we're looking at Wednesday, June 20th at 6:30, so that's typical of our end of year for 8th grade graduation, so we're excited about that. I did want to just note a letter that we received from the Christmas Spirit Foundation. Each year, Miss Adams and the 5th graders collect some funds to help provide Christmas trees for military families, so we received a nice letter from them. We donated $328, but this is the piece I wanted to read from the letter that we received about a week ago. Through your generosity, you are joining in our mission to advance the Christmas spirit. Thanks to the support of people and businesses like yours, Trees for Troops has provided over 200,000 real Christmas trees to military families since 2005. This includes over 17,000 trees delivered to 70 U.S. military bases and 250 trees delivered to international bases during the 2017 Christmas season. Your contribution helped to make the holidays a little brighter for military families across the nation and around the world. So, a little way that Strafford gets to participate in a pretty neat thing. You might have seen as you came in that Miss Adams and Miss Irons and a host of volunteers are fast at work at our drama production that will be coming right up. I just want to say thank you to them because it is literally hours and hours of time and dedication that they spend with lots of our kiddos who are involved, which is neat. And shout out to our guests for our Arts Month as well, for all their work.
So the play this weekend?
The 6th, next Friday, a week
Next-
from.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So
To
what-
get moved.
Maybe we should just give the date so it's recorded, people are watching.
5th and 6th is Friday the 5th, right?
it is, yep,
So it's the 5th and 6th.
April-
Okay, so April
April
5th.
5th? yep, and the
So-
6th.
2 performances?
One each night.
I think there's-
Six
I think
and
there's-
6th and 7th, it's
6 and
Friday,
7?
Saturday.
Okay,
Friday's the 6th, Saturday's the 7th.
okay, April 6th and 7th, probably at what time is it?
7.
7 o'clock?
Yep.
Okay, there you go.
Awesome.
And hello.
All
So,
set, Dr. Young?
I am thinking,
Thank you.
I have,
Question?
and I, yeah,
Statement? Good.
well, and a question, I hope this isn't out of order, because I didn't check with the chair first, but I would love to hear from the student council. Like, is that something that can happen? Can we have the kids come and talk about their year, and if they have questions for us?
absolutely, if that, we can certainly do that.
I know some kids are hoping for new pipes for better drinking water. That's what's come up at my house.
Absolutely, yeah, I was talking to
Imagine
Ms.
the school
Atkinson,
board,
who's
right?
advising that group, but that, yes, absolutely.
Can I ask a question? on-
Sure, go right ahead.
On, at the 8th grade, I guess I would like to fulfill my duties as a board member. So at any point that it would be nice to be visible,
Sure.
be that plays, graduations,
Yes,
assemblies, I just wanna know, you know what, I wanna make sure I meet my,
Absolutely. So what we can do maybe
You
is,
should go to the graduation.
yeah, absolutely. And board members are always welcome to attend that. So as we get closer, we can maybe talk a little bit about, I mean, you know, usually we have board members come out during our, part of our awards celebration. You can, if you want to just be present at the graduation, that's fine as well, but some choose to come up and be a part of our diploma time. So we can have you do that certainly if you'd like to. We'd love to have you.
thank you.
Dr. Goodall, you're up.
Thank you. You've already addressed a couple of things on my report. You've addressed the resignation of Brian Monahan,
Well, I would like to go to page 32, if you wouldn't mind.
32. Yep.
We discussed it, we made plans for the vacant position, but I have the following. I have a motion on resignation.
Okay, we do have a resignation in your packet on 32 and 33 of Brian Monahan, school board.
So the chair would entertain a motion to accept this resignation.
Oh,
So moved.
Thank you.
second.
Okay, we have movement second. Is there any discussion about it?
I'd like to thank Brian for all he's done. I mean, he worked so hard for, I don't know how many years. How many years was he? 5 years?
That's my guess.
Thank him. And this is also his,
5 or 6.
this is the letter of resignation. Amelia, I don't know, do you have a copy of it? It's in the packet. Okay. You're all set.
So we have a motion and a second on the resignation. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you. Yeah, Dr.
Along those lines, I would just like to recognize Brian Monahan had been on for a number of years, and you also lost another member this year who resigned. Carol Ward resigned this year, so both of them, I just wanted to formally thank them for their years of service. I think both of them did a great job, so thank you very much. The halftime guidance counselor, I put that on your agenda because that was passed at the annual meeting, and we have not posted that. You haven't made a formal decision on that, so I just am asking you, would you like us to start moving forward with that, or do you need more time to think about it? It is officially in your budget, but I need approval from you to move forward on it.
The chair would entertain a motion if anybody wants to move forward on this.
I would make a motion to absolutely move forward with the part-time counselor position.
Second.
Discussion? The vote is decided.
Would that be to start immediately or to start?
No, it's in next year's budget, but we would need to, obviously, if we're gonna move forward, I would anticipate that very soon we'll post and start interviews to make sure that we get the right person to be online for the July 1st start of the cycle, so.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Young? posting to the
Yeah.
superintendent's office that you?
If we didn't have a certain amount in the budget.
Yeah, there was
20,000,
20,
I mean,
there was
the warrant for
20,000, there was 20,000 that was taken out. There was also FICA and retirement that remained in the
Yep.
budget, so.
So we have,
I have just a question on that part-time. Will it be part-time 5 days a week? Would it be a couple of days a week? Would it split up? What's your recommendation?
My initial thought is something 5 days a week. Yeah, because then there's consistency at least with each day, even though there'd be shorter hours, obviously, but I think that that's probably the better option.
We leave it up to you, so
Okay.
you make
I
that
also have
decision.
a question. I'm concerned about the amount of money budgeted and whether or not that's enough to meet that position's needs. I understand it's part-time, but.
Yeah, I believe we budgeted for either a Masters 1 or a Masters 2.
So $20,000 doesn't make sense.
Half of the salary. So you're looking at an M1 or an M2, half of the salary, and the FICA and retirement is already in your budget.
Okay,
So I think that's
so
the
that's strictly
difference.
salary, the
Right,
benefit
right,
piece is
that's
extra.
right.
Thank you.
Yeah. I've had a few people ask that same
Yeah.
question. All right,
Anything else?
I'll start with us. Just a couple of things. June 22nd right now is your last day of school, so that's been established. And Dr. Young has already mentioned the graduation date of June 20th. That's all I have.
Thank you. Correspondence presentations.
I have a letter from Tony Fallon, who sent this to me today. I don't know if he's here, he's not here. And he asked if I could have this submitted to the minutes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do we get to see it?
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
what is it?
It's a
That's
letter,
important.
yeah, it's a letter to, it's so complicated. All right,
It'll be in the minutes.
Just
for
get it
anybody
back to
review.
me after you're done.
okay. Where's
I attended the state threat assessment run by Department of Education last Tuesday up in Plymouth. They had such an overwhelming crowd that they're gonna open 2 more. So Dr. Young, so if you have anybody that's gonna be interested,
We'll
try
try
to
to-
register them early.
Tried to get into that one.
Yeah, I heard that, we were packed in there, so they will,
What's the location?
Plymouth State University. It was well attended. Commissioner, Director of Homeland Security, presentation by members of threat assessments from all over the country presented. It was very informative on how to secure your schools and how to develop a threat assessment committee through the members of the school. So if you have something to go, they'll be coming back with that information. And if they don't, I'll give you that information. Okay, enrollment report is on page 34 and to 36. It shows the Strafford totals.
Down one.
Yeah.
With one coming in.
In the same
It's a good
grade?
balance.
Where did we lose?
I think it was,
Getting a second
fourth grade, it was
Yeah,
fourth grade.
Yeah,
Getting a second.
yeah.
Which shows currently 416 students in Strafford School. And on page 36, it shows 215 in Co-Brown. That's our enrollment. Strafford Community News Calendar, Erica just taking over that, so we'll be ready to go with contacts with that. Thank you. And anybody, any other committee updates, Deb? Did you
Yes.
have anything to present?
Yes, I did, let me see, I have a couple. Education committee, we met last week, we interviewed for a position. Our band leader is leaving, is retiring, Mr. McCormick, so we interviewed people for that position. Also had a student hearing, Strafford student. And we saw a presentation by one of the teachers who had received a grant to go to England. She teaches literature, so she ties that experience in with her classwork. That was really interesting. We also, let's see, 1, 2, 3, we did so many things that meeting. We also are working on long-term goals. So that's that. And then the athletic committee, which was last week, which I ended up having a sick grandchild I had to take care of, met. And you want to review that?
Sure, yeah. We really did two main things. We reviewed, well, three. We reviewed the survey results from the past season for basketball for each of our teams. In general, the results were really positive. There was, whenever the survey, I think we had 17 respondents, so you have to take that into consideration. But of those 17 respondents, 15 were highly positive, and there was a couple where there was a few lower scores. But overall, there was a good trend there for parent satisfaction with their kiddos' experience. We also talked about, we did a survey for parents around the possibility of starting a boys volleyball, almost intramural kind of experience, and something that wouldn't obviously be competitive because that doesn't really exist, but it's been a conversation actually that some kiddos have talked about the last couple of years, and to see what interest there might be. So I think we had 11 or 12 families indicate interest. So what we'd like to do, because Mrs. Fitzpatrick, who has coached our volleyball teams in the fall, is willing to volunteer and just do a skills and drills kind of experience for those 10 or 12 boys who indicated interest. We would like to move forward with that as essentially a very soft pilot, just to see how it goes, see what that looks like. And she's a very credentialed, experienced volleyball coach, so she'd be a great entry point for those guys that are wanting to try it out.
What grade levels?
It was 6 through 8 that we're looking at, yeah.
Well, Brown will be happy about that.
Right, yeah, so we'll see where it leads us, but it could be a good thing, or lead to something broader. And then we also talked about developing a parent sort of code of conduct or agreement around code of conduct. And so that's something we can share out with the athletic committee as we draft that, because we really was a conversation. But Mrs. Lano, who I have to say has been absolutely outstanding in her role as an athletic director this year, already has created a draft that we'll share with the committee to see what the feedback is. But I think that could help us going forward. I'm not sure for the remaining season we have coming up possibly, but if not, something we could bring back to the board for review, and then at least implement, as we think about next season. So those are the three pieces we talked about.
We also, just with the SAU, we have an audit committee, and it's been posted today that each community is looking for a member to be on the audit committee. We'd like somebody with either finance or auditing experience or accounting experience. So we need someone from Strafford, so we're putting that out there.
You still do a newsletter each week? Becky?
I was thinking.
Is there a newsletter each week still that goes out?
There is, yep.
We used to get copies of that newsletter.
Yeah, we can send those to you,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, but can you put that in, looking for a
Sure.
member of the community?
I think the new posting was sort of incorrect information. The first one out, and it was updated, so you would have that, right? Is that
Well, it
sort of-
wasn't incorrect information.
I mean, it wasn't.
There was other information that was asked to be added
Added
to it.
information, right,
So
sorry.
that came out this afternoon.
Right, okay, so they must have it, right? They would have it.
It was posted to each of the schools. yes.
Okay, so you probably had it in an email.
Okay,
So you'd have all the information.
Sure.
If you just would want to copy that letter.
sure.
Great, thank you.
Moving on to set future school board meeting dates, April 11th would be a regular meeting, April 16th would be the joint board meeting, and then looking forward is April 25th and May 9th for 2 more regular school board meetings, so that is the calendar at that point. April 25th does fall during vacation. I don't know if any board members have plans. I know I have no wife and no plans. All right. Other? Anybody other at this public comments then. And that's everybody here. Does anybody have a public comment? We do a great job.
Of course it's me.
Hi, Audrey Dolan. I just want to welcome new board members, and I want to thank this board for your support in moving forward with teacher contracts. It's going to go a long way to have things improve all around here at school. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yeah, Mr. Cook.
I'd like to fall right in line and say that I hope that now that things have been voted by the public to the direction that we're going, that we move forward, and we move forward in a pace that works for the community. And please keep in mind, as your new members are on the board and the existing members, that everything that you vote is real tax dollars. And the community certainly has been, not up at arms, but, you know, it's been headbutting. Let's see if we can work together and find some common ground in the next year, so that we don't end up a year from now doing the same darn thing. Does that make sense? And then along with that, I have one just personal comment. I didn't find it appropriate that during your recess that you had sidebarred meetings happening in another room with people coming and going from this room. I found that to be very inappropriate. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay. Hearing none, do we need a non-public session? Do we have any?
We do not.
No names? So we would entertain a motion to adjourn at this time.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone. Nice job. Hey, Scott. Yes, I gave it to her. I didn't sign
That's not appropriate, nope, not appropriate at all. You read, something online. We need to move forward. We need to move forward. I agree with that. We need to move forward. And it was something, public vote. I'm going to the city tomorrow, as a candidate. I know that Carrie McNally also, there's another lady.
Is that, should I try to stand up?
I'm gonna wait till my dog stops. Yeah.
Oh, that's all we do? Yeah. That's all we do. There's no seriousness.
This goes to the individual.